Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to use conditional formatting. I'm going to see some advanced usage of it. So here I have my sales department, sales, and this is, you can see here the name of the sales rep, the customer, the amount of money that he managed to sell, and this is the quarter in which it occurred. So let's say I want to highlight all the reps that managed to sell to Pepsi, for example. So I mark the whole table, I select it, and you can get to the conditional formatting either by going to Format and Conditional Formatting, or by selecting all of it and clicking on the right click of the mouse and hitting conditional formatting. Now I'm going to select the formula, and if you want to use the formula, you gotta act like you would if it's a regular cell in this Google sheet. So you hit the equal sign, and then it immediately shows you this red rectangle, which means that this is an incorrect formula. Once it becomes a valid formula, it will change its color, you'll see it. So I want to mark all those whose customer is Pepsi. So it's in column F, and we're going to start from row 6 here. Also the range starts from row 6, as you can see, E6 to H20. So F6 equals, now you're going to use a quotation mark, just like you would in a regular cell. It's a formula, I am reminding you. So FC. Now it's a valid formula. The color changed to blue. And as you can see here, let's change the color to a nicer one. So you can see here that done. And James sold to Pepsi and Alice and Ken again, once in the fourth quarter and once in the second quarter. This is the amount of money. Now note that this formula here, just like regular formula, is relative. So if, just for example, if you had Pepsi here, then this cell here where it says 98,646 would also change its color. Why is that? Because the conditional formatting here works in a relative mode. That means it always looks for text Pepsi in the next cell, in the next column. Okay, so it's very important to understand. So revert it. Now, what if I wanted the whole row to change its color? That's very simple. Just add the $sign here, and all the colors of all the rows in which you had Pepsi change the colors. Why is that? Because it would look for text Pepsi in column F, always in column F, but the row number would change relatively between the cells within this range. So for each and every cell in this range, this one and this one and this one, this one, all of them, it looks for the text Pepsi in column F in their own color. Even though in the formula it says here 6, the end result is that it looks for the text Pepsi in each and every one of these cells. By the way, if you change it to this, then all the cells in this range will change their color, because it always looks for F6, whether it equals to Pepsi or not. And since it is, then all the cells change their color. If you change here, by the way, if you put Ferrari here, then it wouldn't work, because all the cells look for F6. So we have here all the rows changed their colors. according to the condition, of course. Okay, let's try something nicer. So let's say I have a list of companies here, and let's go company, and here I have data validation from range. Okay, so I want to be able to select the company name, and I want all the rows that have this customer would change their color, not just Pepsi. So I'm going to use, let's just go this, let's go for Ferrari. Okay, and I want to change. So how do we do that? I go to the condition here, and instead of Pepsi, I'll write the cell reference. And as you can see here, I selected the reference of this cell, which is K4. And now I have this changed. Wherever we have Ferrari, it changes. Now I'm gonna play with it. So let's go for Jaguar, or Apple, or even Pepsi, where we started from. Coca-Cola. And it all comes from this formula that we can see here. Again, this is a relative formula where the column is constant. That's the dollar sign that precedes the if, and the rest is relative here. And this one obviously is an absolute path to this cell. Now, what if I wanted this list and this cell to be in another tab in the same sheet? Would this work? Well, the answer is no, but I'll show you how to make it work. So let's create another sheet. Let's call it customers. And now let's cut this and put it here somewhere, let's say in whatever. So now we need to reference cell D4 from the customers tab. Obviously, now everything is lost here, it's not working. But the rule still exists, and we have a wrong reference here because we cut the data from here. So here's what we're going to do. If I wanted just to place the value of the cell, I can just do equals, go there, and mark it, and place here. Now, if I stand here, you can see it here that it says customers and D4. So I can just take this without the equal sign, put it here, select Conditional Formatting, and if I put it here, even without this equal sign, it will not work. It says that it's an invalid formula. In order to make it work from another tab or another sheet, you must use the indirect function. Basically, this indirect function receives a string, a text, which represents a cell or a range. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, let's do it this way. Indirect, put it here, put the bracket, put the quotation mark here, place the address, remove the equal sign, put here. And as you can see, it already works. So let's see how it looks. just like before, equals F6 equals indirect, open brackets, quotation mark, and then a reference including a tab name or sheet name, and then exclamation mark, and then the cell or range for that matter. And there you go. Now you don't need this here. And as you can see here, Coca-Cola, if I go to customers, let's change it to Jaguar, go back, and Jaguar is marked. And the same goes to all the others. Now let's say I want all the rows in which the sale is less than $20,000 to be marked with the, let's say, red background. So here's what I do. Select the range. You know what, just to be on the safe side, I'll copy this because I want to remove it. So you can see here, first, so you can always see it here. By the way, this Google Sheet will be in the description of the video. Okay, so I'm gonna select it, remove this, start from scratch, and I'm gonna go for the formula equals. Now I'm gonna look for those in column G, so we'll start from G6 equals, sorry, less than 20,000. And let's do it with this red background. Now you probably noticed, okay, these two, James and James, well, these are the only two which are lower than 20,000, so they are marked, but also these two are marked. And why is that? Because as I told you in the beginning of this video, this formula is relative. So we started this formula from column E here. And here it says G. That means for every cell in this range, the condition looks for a value which is lower than 20,000, 2 columns to the right. So what happens is that every cell here looks for this, and there are just strings here, so the condition is not met. And this one looks for values here, outside of the range, 2 columns to the right. So we have E, values in E look for a value in G. The values in column F here look for a value in column H. And values here look for the cells here, look for a value here. And the same goes here. So just for example, if I put here something which is greater than 20,000, then you'll see what happens. It's no longer a match. Even though it's outside of this table, every cell in this range, thanks to this formula, looks for a value which is lower than 20,000, but it looks for it 2 columns to the right, even if it's outside of the range that we talked about. So if I do this, I paste this value here, all these reds will just vanish, because right now all these values here, which are outside of our range, are 0. So if I make them into a number which is greater than 20,000, the red background here will be gone, as you can see here. And if I put here 19,000, then the equivalent one, corresponding one, will turn into red again. So let's delete this. Anyway, I want the whole row to match, so let's do this. We'll add this, and that's it. Now it looks for column G and only column G. The row is relative, so 6 because we started from row 6 here, but Google Sheet knows how to make the adjustment so that every cell looks for its own row in column G. So only these values are now being matched, or Google Sheet tries to match them to see if they are lower than 20,000. And then it marks the whole row. And again, if you want to make this value out of this sheet, let's say I want to put it here. Just to make it nicer. So I want now that whatever the value is in H3 in this sheet, in the customer sheet, all these will, which are lower than it, will be turned into red. So again, if I do it here directly, I won't be able to make it because it's in a different sheet. So what I'll do is just do this here and here. Now I have this value here and its formula, customers exclamation mark H3, and now I'm going to mark this whole thing, this whole range, and instead of 20,000 I'll put here again indirect. I cannot put the formula here because it will be an invalid formula. So what I'll do is this indirect, quotation mark, place it, quotation mark, close. And as you can see, it immediately turned into what I wanted. Done. Now I can remove this. It's just for it's an auxiliary cell that I use for a minute. And now, if I want to see all those who are, whose value is lower than 50,000, for example. Just an example, I'll write it down here. And if I go back, see 50,000 here. And all these are marked. Same goes to any value that you want. Now then, 80,000, all those which are lower than 80,000. Again, I'll put it here. Second rule, just for you, when you get to this Google Sheet, you'll find it here, put it in red. Okay, and anyway you have it here. Now let's say I want to mark all the cells which are duplicates. For example, all James, if James has more than one cell, any one of them, Mike, Steve, any one of these reps who has more than one cell here, I want to mark its row. So all the duplicates here. I'm gonna delete the row here, the rule, sorry. Set it like this, and now add another rule. Let's color it differently. I don't know, let's do yellow background. Formula, and I'm going to use count ifs. Let's do it first. Here it will be easier. Equals count ifs range. If it matches this, I want the column to be always E. And if it's greater than 1, okay. Now let's take this formula and put it here. And as you can see immediately, that James has 1 and 2 and 3, and Steve has 1 and 2. And what I didn't do, and I should do, and I will do it right now, is to make sure that this is the right thing. The range should be constant, otherwise it's relative and it goes beyond the range of the table here. So now it's okay. All the rows of the salesperson who has duplicates. So James has 1, 2, and 3. And Steve has 1, 2, and that's it, I think. And Macy has 1 and 2, and Frank has 1, 2, and Ken has 1, 2. But Ben and Alice do not have duplicates, and neither does Mike. If I change this, for example, to, I don't know, Bill, then you'll see that Frank has only 1 and Bill has only 1 immediately. Obviously, we can do that the same way we did here with an indirect, but in this case, it's in this range only, so there's no need to do that, but you can do it as well. I'll put this range rule here. There. Mark it with a yellow background for you. That's it for this part. And now for something completely different, which you can use in various ways. Actually, there are endless options here. I'm going to take you to a nice journey. Let's see what's the connection between this Google Sheet and the game of chess. So let's take a look at the chessboard, and then in a minute you'll understand what's the connection between this and what we're talking about, the conditional formatting. So here we have the knight and a king, white knight and a black king. And as you can see, when I click on the knight, it shows me all the places where this knight can go to, or all the places that it threatens. So in all the cases, it's either 1 column to the left and 2 rows above or below, or 1 column to the right and 2 rows above or below, or 2 columns to the right and 1 row above or below. So I want to simulate this in a Google Sheet by using conditional formatting. So remember this. Now let's create it from scratch in a Google Sheet. Join me to this journey. Let's create a new sheet. We'll call it chess. And we're going to need 8 by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 2 rows. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's first mark them this way. And now let's make them all the columns the same size. Let's make it 50. same goes to the rows. So it will be a square and a rectangle. And just like this one, let's make it this way. So this one is green. Let's make it nicer. I think this one will look nicer. Yeah. Okay, we have the chessboard. You know, that's just to be on the safe side here. This 21. So let's make this one also 21. Okay. And so I want to make sure I'm not going to use graphics here, but if, for example, that's what I want to get to, if I write KN, let's make the font here better. I'm just going to adjust the fonts, everything, and make it centralized here. Okay, so whenever I write KN, I want all the squares which are threatened by this knight. Let's imagine that you have a knight here. It will threaten this one, and 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 this one. Sorry, not this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, and I want it to apply to all the boxes in this chessboard. I want to make them red. Their background will be turned into red whenever I insert the value KN, which is short for knight. So let's see how we do that. By the way, let's change the font here. It looks good. Anyway, so I'm going to pick just one of these squares. So let's pick this cell here. Let's use the OR function. So equals OR. And I'm going to use all the places where the knight, if it's there, it threatens this cell, this specific cell. So this one equals KN, or this one equals KN, or this one equals KN, or this one equals KN, this one equals KN, or this one equals KN, or this one equals KN, or this one equals KN. Close the brackets. Look at this. So right now it's false because I don't have anything. So if I put KN here, it will become true. Now I'm going to take this formula. I don't need it. It's just for making it easy for me not to make a mistake. And now I'm going to right click, conditional formatting, go for the formula, put it here, okay, and change it. Let's change it to red. It's a symbol of danger or whatever. And that. Now you can remove this formula from here. It's already in the conditional formatting settings. And I'm going to stand on this cell, which is the only one which has the conditional formatting right now. I'm going to copy it, select the whole range. Remember that it's relative, so it's going to apply to the whole board, to all the squares in this chess chessboard. I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste into conditional formatting, only the conditional formatting. Now it applies to the whole range, and you can see it here, D5 to L12, D5, L12. And now, here comes the magic. If I click, I just pick whichever box that I want, whichever square, and I write KN, and bang! You can immediately see all the places that threatens. So if you have a knight here in a chess game, it will threaten all those which are red. And you can do it to any of these squares. It immediately shows you. All done with one formula and conditional formatting in Google Sheets. So a nice trick that I came up with to show you the connection between the chess game and Google Sheet. Obviously, if you do that here, it will only show you this. The rule will also apply to other cells which are out of this range and table, but that's just a side effect which doesn't really bother us. So whenever you delete it, everything goes back to normal. And if you do this, the knight will threaten these two, and whatever you want to do here. So you can also copy its value here, the KN, to the whole board, and everything becomes red. And then you can do this. Nothing changes because these knights threaten everything right now. But if we take out this, well, some of them are not threatened anymore. And you can create very nice patterns with it. Let's see if we do this. Put okay, in here. Just trying it with you. If we do this. I'm just playing with it. Just very nice patterns that you can create here. Whatever, you can play with it. It's, I don't want to say endless, but there are many options that you can play here. But you got the general idea, I think. Well, that's it. I hope you liked it. If you did, then you can click on like for this video. As I said, this link to this Google Sheet is in the description of the video, and you can subscribe to our channel to get more videos and updates. Have fun. Bye bye.